Assalamu alaikum. This is Halima with Diaries of Her. And before getting into today's episode, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you. I've been seeing all the messages, the support, and even people taking the time to listen who I didn't expect. And it's honestly meant so much to me. And I know this space is rooted in my faith, so you'll hear me reference things from an Islamic perspective or use Arabic phrases. But if you're here and something resonates with you, you're more than welcome here. The language might be different, but the feeling isn't. And I'll also start including a short reference in the show notes for any phrases I use, just to make things a little easier to follow. And with that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. In the last episode, I talked about this feeling of thinking I'd be further along in life than I am, and just navigating that tension between expectation and reality. And something I've been reflecting on since then is how easy it is to go through that feeling alone. And that's what I want to talk about today, the importance of having other women in your life, and how sometimes, without even realizing it, we start to isolate ourselves in ways that actually make things heavier. I feel like something that we don't speak about enough, especially as women, is this idea that once you find romantic love, everything else kind of falls into place. That once you have your person, your Prince Charming, you've reached your happily ever after. But I've been thinking, what if that's not the full picture? I think a lot of us grew up with this idea of happily ever after, whether that was through movies, through TV, or even the books that we read growing up. It fed us this notion that once I'm married, I'll be fulfilled. Subconsciously, we were telling ourselves that romantic love is the main relationship. And without even realizing it, everything else starts to take a backseat. And I do think that part of this also comes from the way we're taught to move through life, especially in a culture that places so much emphasis on individualism. This idea of focus on yourself, pour into yourself, protect your energy. And while there's truth in that, it can slowly shift us away from thinking collectively, from seeing ourselves as part of something bigger, a community, a support system, a responsibility to one another. And over time, it can start to sound like, no one really understands me. I'm better off handling things on my own. And without even realizing it, that turns into isolation. And at the same time, within our own communities, there's also another narrative that can show up. Conversations around evil eye, envy, jealousy. And again, these are real things. They exist and they're not to be dismissed. But sometimes the way we internalize them can make us overly guarded, to the point where we start to withdraw, keep distance, and struggle to trust even sincere connections. So you have these two things happening at once. On one side, a world that tells you to prioritize yourself above all else, to succeed by any means necessary, to move independently. And on the other, a fear of being too open, too seen, too connected. And somewhere in between all of that, we lose the softness of genuine, safe companionship. And slowly, without even noticing, friendships get pushed to the side. Distance grows, not always because something went wrong, but because we stopped nurturing what was once there. And then one relationship, usually a romantic one, becomes your entire emotional world. And that creates a lot of pressure on one person to be everything: your support system, your safe space, your source of understanding. And that's a weight no single person was meant to carry. I remember early on in my marriage, specifically that first year, there was a time where I was just really focused on myself. I was trying to figure things out, get into a new routine, living with someone, and also just investing into my relationship. At the time, I told myself that I just needed the space to be able to focus on this without any distractions. And I'd reconnect with my people once I felt more put together, ready to socialize. I somehow convinced myself that as a married woman, especially being newly married, that was the right thing to do. that was what's expected of me to do it, if anything. Where did this idea come from? I do feel like it's the things that I internalized subconsciously without even being aware. Looking back though, I think I slowly started isolating myself without even realizing it. And it wasn't that I didn't value connection. I just kept pushing it off. I remember my friends reaching out, wanting to make plans, and I'd always have an excuse. Either I'm busy with this, busy with work, busy with life. There was always something. And I think that's how it happens for a lot of us. It's not intentional, it just slowly becomes normal. But I don't think we were meant to live like that. I think sisterhood and companionship between women is actually something we deeply need. Through creating a circle of friends or a community of people where you feel safe around, you feel seen, you feel understood, and you can share experiences in ways that your spouse does differently. You can laugh, you can joke, you can get advice, and feel that whatever trials or tests that you're dealing with, they're not something that only is affecting you. Or even just gain a new perspective in something that otherwise you wouldn't have. There's a different kind of comfort in being around women who just get it. And even beyond that, connection like that actually nourishes us. Through connection, it allows room for emotional regulation. When you're carrying those heavy emotions and need to vent, and need someone to relate with, it's a means of not only regulating yourself, but also feeling safe. And through those feelings of safety, you can tap into a different type of softness. Our femininity thrives in safe, supportive environments. And we feed off of each other as women as well, where when we have these spaces where we can feel that we belong, we soften, we feel more grounded, and we feel more like ourselves. And another thing that I'm also learning is that it's okay for your friendships to look different. It's okay to have a different friend for a different interest, for a different hobby. Not one friend has to do everything or has to be everything. You can have different friends for different parts of your life. For example, you can have one friend that you reach out to have those deep talks, those intellectually stimulating conversations where you go down rabbit holes. You can have another friend for moments of lightness when you just need a good laugh. The girl that you know you'll always have a good time around. And then you can also have another friend for more intentional aspects of your life. And you can also have another friend for growth, the one that reminds you of your deen, of your values, of your goals, the one who, when you're questioning yourself, going through moments of doubt, they can remind you of where you came from and what you're working towards and who you truly are. And that doesn't make any of these relationships any less meaningful. And having that kind of support, that kind of community, that circle of good friends, they can fulfill your emotional needs in ways that your spouse does differently. They reduce the pressure on your marriage and allows you to return more grounded, be more present, and have that emotional availability to invest in your relationship. When you have this good circle of friends, you're no longer asking one person to be everything anymore. So this also made me reflect on what actually makes a good friend. And I truly believe this is an important question to ask, not only when you're searching for a good friend, but also to reflect on your own self, your own characteristics, your own qualities, and ask yourself, am I a good friend? And when it comes to being a good friend, I would say there are a few core traits that you should always look for. Firstly, I do think it's important for your values to align, whether that's through your belief system, your ethics, your morals. Having someone that can redirect you and remind you of your values in moments that you fall short is very, very important. Second, do they have a strong character? Is this person trustworthy? Is she honest? Along those lines also, is she empathetic and compassionate? You want someone to be able to relate to you, not judge you, not make you feel othered, but also allows you to be yourself and holds a safe space for you to truly grow in that friendship. And lastly, And what I think is also really important is asking yourself, is this person a positive influence to me? Does this person encourage me towards goodness and discourages me from anything that may harm myself or others? You don't want a friend that will hype you up just for anything, laugh, and watch you walk towards your destruction. Being Muslims, we believe that you are the circle that you keep. So the influence that you have in each other's lives doesn't just affect your dunya, it affects your akhirah. So seek the kind of friend who brings you closer to who you're trying to be, to where you're trying to be. So with this topic of friendship and companionship, I'm reminded of one of the hadiths of the Prophet Sallallahu, alayhi, found in Sahih al-Bukhari 2101, where narrated by Abu Musa, Allah's Messenger Sallallahu, alayhi, said, "The example of a good companion who sits with you in comparison with the bad one is like that of the musk seller and the blacksmith's furnace. From the first you would either buy musk or enjoy its good smell, while the blacksmith would either burn your clothes or your house, or you get a bad, nasty smell thereof." And I think that leaves us with the question, which kind of companionship are we choosing? And which kind are we becoming? And wouldn't you want a sister or a friend that asks for you if they make it in Jannah before you? So with that, I hope we see the value and the importance in why we still need other women in our lives, even after getting married. Of course, within the correct bounds of trust, safety, and understanding, it is still possible to have robust friendships, familial relations, and a romantic relationship without any taking away from the other. And when we are cultivating these circles of friendship or these villages, let's just remember to be intentional about who we're letting into that circle and the type of environment you're creating, not only when seeking a friend, but also the type of friend you are. After all, should one of you make it to Jannah, wouldn't you want to be asked for? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surround us with people who soften our hearts and bring us closer to Him. I'll talk to you soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.